Thank you very much, and thank you for the opportunity to speak here. So I will be trying to answer this question. Can e-health improve treatment outcomes in adolescents living with HIV in Ethiopia? So there are many possibilities to this. We can say yes, and then start implementing it. Or we can say no, and stop it. Or we can say we don't know. Or we can say we know something, and then we need to study more. So I think we have all these possibilities. And so my thinking is that we know something about this, that it works, but how can we implement that? So I'll walk you through this very simple outline of my presentation. I'll describe the background. Why are we talking about adolescents living with HIV? So you already understand that they are adolescents, and they are with HIV. So you can already understand how complex the problem be. The next is I will be going through some results from studies that we have done so far. We have been doing a lot of study over the last 6 years. So we have results. And we didn't want to stop just with publishing nice results and getting credits for that. We wanted to go into implementation, and I'm very grateful that we have now resources to do that. And then what are we going to do? So I will show you a bit of what we are planning, and then we'll have more details in the future when we have detailed plans for implementation. I also want to mention some potential areas for collaboration with my new organization, which is KNCV, Tuberculosis Foundation. It's a very old Dutch organization, which has been here for more than 10 decades. And so, but I'll give you a link to that. You will explore further. I don't want to talk much about that. So this is the background about adolescents. According to the latest, or in 2018, there were about 38 million people living with HIV. So that's a lot of number. 38 million people living with HIV. And of this, about 36 million were adults. We have quite a huge number of children living with HIV. And adolescents aged between 10 and 19 years were about 1.6 million. So even within UNAIDS, there was no mechanism to report adolescent-specific data until recently. This was a very neglected group when I started my research in 2013 on adolescents. My previous research was on adults. So because when we realized that this is becoming a real problem for the world, it's a result of also a success. This challenge is a result of a success because we treated children and they become adults and they continue to live to adulthood. So this is a huge number. And what's striking here again is about the proportion of adolescents. The largest proportion, the bigger proportion is among adolescents, girls, not boys. So that's very important. So when we come to the WHO African region, the largest number of patients is there, although Africa represents only 10% of the global population. So this is a very important problem for us. And as a country, Ethiopia is the second largest country in Africa with over 100 million population, and the number of adolescents is huge. So I'll give more data maybe in the future, but this is just a background about the adolescents living with HIV. A summary of what we have done in Ethiopia. We have been following a cohort of adolescents and children living with HIV. Mulatu presented the children part. It was a separate but related project. This one, we had enrolled over 2,000 children and adolescents, about equal in number between children and adolescents. When you look at the proportion, slightly higher proportion were put on ART. And when you look at the follow-up patterns, we have a very high loss to follow-up rate on this side. So this is the gross result that about 17% were lost to follow-up compared with about 10%. So what we did was, this is the baseline information, the profile. But when you go into the details of loss to follow-up rates here, this is loss to follow-up rate. When you look at these numbers, we compared this within adolescent and child groups. So when you compare this figure, these are the adolescents 15 to 19 years. And they have the highest rate of loss to follow-up. So there are many possible explanations for this. These are adolescents. So they are 15-year-old, or they are 18, 17, or 19-year-old. So this is also a time where they start to explore, and they start to also move for schooling. So there are many factors, both behavioral and sociocultural, that contribute. But we studied some of the risk factors for the loss to follow-up. And those who come from rural areas are most likely to be lost to follow-up. And from our previous studies, we know that about 50% of those who are lost to follow-up are actually dead in adults. So we also suspect that some were dead. And then having low CD4 count was another factor, and girls. So these are some of the important factors that we have identified in our study. So this is from our latest publication, just this year. Then we go to the mortality rate. This is even worse. So when you look at this one, this is slightly different here. So we have this age group. The middle age group has higher mortality because we suspect that they acquired infection perinatally and they have already grown to 10 to 15 years. So they are in advanced disease stage, which is likely the cause. But there are also other factors here, including being female, which is not significant here, but other factors are very, very important. So we have also seen a self-reported adherence, which was very low, suboptimal. We expect it to be 95% or more. This was from one of our previous publications with a master's student. So this is also another finding that we have got. So there are globally recommended several categories of interventions, including active adherence reminders, including text messaging. There have been systematic reviews that recommend this, but we have never implemented this as interventions. So in this, what we are now planning under the eHealth project now is to do an randomized controlled trial to see how text messaging can contribute to improved adherence among adolescents, and improved adherence and retention in care. And we have also several cost elements and so on. So this is a model that we follow, and we have learned it from Lund University. And there are also several areas for collaboration with my new organization. We have an eHealth project, a big one here and here. And I'm part of those two or three projects, and we can make it even bigger in the future. Thank you very much.